The automatic doors slid open with a soft chime, and Keanu stepped into the cool, sterile air of the Beverly Hills grocery store. He wore a faded gray t-shirt tucked loosely into dark jeans, scuffed sneakers, and a baseball cap pulled low over his brow. There was no entourage, no sunglasses, just him, shoulders slightly hunched, a canvas tote bag folded under his arm. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as he pushed a cart down the produce aisle, hands resting lightly on the handle. Around him, customers murmured to each other, some stealing glances, most pretending not to notice. A few teenagers whispered and raised their phones, giggling as they angled their cameras. Keanu moved slowly, reading labels with quiet concentration. He did not belong to the world of quick gestures or loud laughter. His pace was measured, almost deliberate, as though he valued each moment. His mind wandered to the script he had been reviewing that morning, a small indie film about redemption and second chances. He liked stories like that, stories about people who chose decency in a world that rewarded cruelty. A store clerk passed him. "Hey man, need help finding anything?" The kid asked, voice bright. Keanu smiled faintly. "Just looking," he murmured. He reached for a bunch of green grapes, lifted them, tested the weight in his hand. That was when he felt it, an odd tension in the air, subtle but real, like the pressure before a storm. A man in a security jacket stood near the end of the aisle, arms crossed, eyes fixed on him. Another uniformed man appeared near the bakery section, pretending to arrange bread loaves but glancing over too often. Keanu's heartbeat slowed. A trick he had learned from years of martial arts training. Awareness first, reaction later. He placed the grapes in his cart and moved on. In the dairy section, a young woman pushed a stroller, humming softly to her child. Keanu waited patiently until she passed, then crouched to examine cartons of eggs. A shadow fell over him. "Sir," a voice said behind him. He rose slowly, carton in hand. "Yes." A uniformed officer, not security but police, stood there, hand resting casually on his belt. "Can I see some ID, please?" Keanu blinked. "Is there a problem?" "Step away from the cart," the officer said. The moment stretched. The shoppers nearby froze, sensing something was off. One of them raised a phone and started recording. Keanu complied, stepping back, palms open. "You're mistaken," he said quietly. Another officer joined, flanking him. "Sir, we have reason to believe you're involved in a theft investigation. Please cooperate." Murmurs rippled through the aisle. Someone whispered, "Is that Keanu Reeves?" Keanu's mind sharpened. This was not a misunderstanding that would be cleared in seconds. This was something else, something deliberate. "Officers," he said softly, "there must be some confusion. Let us talk about this." The first officer stepped forward, hand closing around Keanu's wrist with sudden force. The click of a phone camera shutter echoed. The recording had begun. The cold steel bit into his skin as they snapped the cuffs behind his back. He kept his breath slow, eyes on the polished floor. Around him, whispers turned into gasps. "That's Keanu Reeves. What is happening? Get this on video. Get it." More phones came up. The red dots of recording lights glimmered like tiny predators in the crowd. Keanu said nothing. His instincts screamed at him to resist, but he knew better. Resistance would feed whatever narrative they were building. "Sir, you're under investigation for shoplifting high-value goods," the taller officer said, voice rehearsed, loud enough for bystanders to hear. Keanu's jaw tightened. He glanced at the cart, eggs, grapes, milk, nothing else. He spoke evenly. "I did not steal anything." The officer smirked. "Tell it to the judge." They began walking him toward the front of the store. The crowd followed, murmuring, filming, narrating live streams. A young man in a hoodie shouted, "He's innocent. Leave him alone." But he was drowned out by a woman's anxious whisper. "Why would he do that? He is rich." Keanu's thoughts turned inward. He remembered a line from that indie script. In the moment they take your hands, do not let them take your mind. He straightened his back, shoulders square, walking with quiet dignity even as the cuffs chafed his wrists. By the time they reached the checkout area, 3 more officers had joined, standing near the exit like sentinels. The store manager hovered nervously. "Is this necessary?" she asked. "Procedure," the officer snapped. Keanu glanced at her, eyes calm, almost gentle. "Ma'am," he said softly, "check your cameras. You will see." She hesitated, then turned to the security desk, but one officer blocked her path. "Stay out of this," he said. Keanu saw it then. The subtle exchange of glances between the officers. This was not about theft. This was about something else entirely. Phones hovered closer, capturing his silence, his composed posture, the cruel tightness of the cuffs. The entire world was watching, though no one yet knew how this would end. Near the entrance, sunlight spilled through the glass doors, warm and golden. Outside, the evening hum of Beverly Hills life continued. Cars gliding past, a busker playing guitar, tourists snapping photos. Inside, tension thickened. Keanu was positioned near a small step by the exit, officers flanking him. A murmur of discontent rose in the crowd. A young woman whispered to her friend, "He does not even look angry." Her friend nodded. "That is scary. Like he knows something." An older man stepped forward. "Officers, I have shopped here for years." He did nothing. His voice trembled with conviction. The officer closest to Keanu barked, "Step back, sir, or you'll be detained too." Phones recorded every word, every gesture. Streams of comments flooded in on social platforms. "This feels wrong. Why are they doing this?" He looked so calm. Keanu's own breath stayed steady. Inside, his mind traced through possibilities. Lawyers, witness statements. But he sensed something deeper. These officers were not acting on standard protocol. Their eyes darted, not with guilt but with calculation. "Keanu," one of them said mockingly, "I expected more fight from you." Keanu tilted his head. "You are not here for theft," he said quietly. "You are here to humiliate." The officer's smile faltered. "Careful what you say." From somewhere in the crowd, a voice shouted, "We're recording everything." Cheers followed. The mood shifted, subtle but undeniable. The crowd was no longer passive. By now, at least 30 phones were held high, their screens glowing like a wall of unblinking eyes. Live streams poured out into the world. Hashtags formed in real time. Hashtag Keanu arrested trended within minutes. One officer muttered, "Get him in the car before this escalates." But Keanu planted his feet on the small step near the exit, back straight, eyes scanning the faces around him. He saw fear, confusion, anger. He saw hope flicker in the eyes of those who believed in justice. He spoke clearly, his voice low but carrying, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have done nothing wrong." Whispers. The officer lunged to shove him forward, but Keanu shifted slightly, not resisting, just steadying himself. "You do not have to push," he said. A teenage boy shouted, "We see you. We're streaming this." His hands shook, but his voice rang out. Others joined in, raising their phones higher. Keanu looked at the boy, a small nod of thanks. Then to the officers, "Do you understand the power of truth? It does not need weapons." The taller officer sneered, "You think this crowd will save you?" Keanu's eyes softened. "I think the truth already has." The crowd erupted in murmurs. The officers hesitated. And in that hesitation, Keanu felt the shift. The moment the narrative began to crumble, the store manager reappeared, clutching a tablet. Her hands trembled, but her eyes were fierce. "I checked the cameras," she announced, voice shaking but loud. "He didn't steal anything. Nothing." The officer stiffened. "Ma'am, step aside." "No," she said, stepping forward. "This is wrong." Cheers rose from the crowd. Someone shouted, "Let him go." Another yelled, "We're all witnesses." Keanu remained still, letting the moment build. He felt the sunlight warm his back through the glass doors. He let his breathing guide him, slow and deep. The officer in charge hissed to his partner, "Get her out of here." But they hesitated, aware of the phones, the growing unrest. Keanu spoke softly, words carrying, "You have what you came for. Spectacle. But justice, that is not yours to twist." A silence followed, heavy and electric. Then the manager repeated, stronger, "Release him. Now." The officers exchanged nervous glances. One of them reached for his radio, whispering hurried codes. The taller officer tightened his grip on Keanu's arm, but the crowd surged closer. "You can't do this. Let him go. He's innocent." Keanu felt the pressure, the bodies shifting, the energy rising. He lifted his head, calm eyes scanning the crowd. "Do not harm them," he murmured to the officers. "They are only here for truth." "Shut up," the officer snarled. A phone screen near Keanu's face displayed live comments. "This is insane. I'm calling the news. They can't hide this now." Keanu's inner voice whispered, "Hold steady. Do not let anger own you." Outside, sirens wailed faintly. Backup, or perhaps an internal affairs unit, already alerted by the viral footage. The officers felt it too, their posture shifting, confidence cracking. One officer's radio crackled. "Units, stand down. Release the subject immediately." The command cut through the tension like a blade. The officer froze. The crowd erupted in questions. "Release him," the manager shouted. Keanu felt the cuffs loosen, the cold steel sliding away from his wrists. He rubbed them gently, not looking at the officers but at the crowd, at the dozens of phones capturing every detail. "You're free to go," the taller officer muttered, face pale. Keanu did not move. Not yet. He let the silence stretch, the moral weight settle over them all. Then he stepped forward onto the small rise near the exit, bathed in the evening light. Keanu turned to face them. Officers, shoppers, streaming phones. His voice was calm, steady, but carried undeniable power. "You have all seen what happened here," he began. "There are moments when silence is complicity, when injustice happens in the open, and we pretend not to see." He looked at the officers. "I forgive you, but I will not forget." The crowd went silent, hanging on every word. "This is not about me," Keanu continued. "It is about how we treat each other when we think no one is watching. But someone is always watching. Cameras do not create truth. They reveal it." Tears welled in the eyes of the young boy holding his phone high. The manager clasped her hands over her mouth. A woman whispered, "Thank you." The doors behind him slid open, letting in a soft breeze scented with jasmine from the planters outside. Keanu stepped down slowly, deliberately, each movement graceful, unhurried. The officers remained off to the side, heads bowed, unsure whether to speak or flee. The crowd began to applaud, hesitant at first, then stronger, a wave of claps and cheers and shouted thanks. Keanu paused at the threshold, turned back one last time. His eyes swept the crowd. "Do good," he said softly, "even when no one is filming." The applause grew louder. Some were crying. Some were shouting his name. Outside, the sun dipped lower, bathing the street in amber light. Keanu stood on the top step, slightly elevated, framed by the glowing doors behind him. Phones were still rolling, catching every nuance. The faint smile on his lips, the calm in his eyes, the strength in his stillness. He raised one hand, not a wave but a simple gesture of peace, and the crowd responded with a roar of approval. In those final seconds, as the last light caught the silver at his temples, the world saw not an actor, not a victim, but a man who refused to let injustice define him. And as he walked away into the warm evening, the recordings kept streaming, spreading across the globe, a testament to quiet courage and moral victory. Phones were rolling, but nobody expected Keanu to do this in the last seconds.